Sports marketing is all about being bold. From Adidas looking to avoid the sophomore slump, to Nike betting it big on Kim Kardashian and SKIMS, to all the crossover plays happening in music and sports. We're watching brands take some of the riskiest swings to date, but will it all pay off in the end? Before we get into all of that, I'm Derick, the marketing point guard, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, we take trending marketing moments in sports and culture and turn them into insights to help you build your brand. Please like, subscribe, and share to somebody you think might enjoy this. Now, let's get back to the point. First up, we have Adidas and Anthony Edwards, and they're coming into the AE2 really hoping to avoid the sophomore slump. Now, you've seen it happen time and time again. The one is so coveted. They create all the hype. It's their first time telling that story. There's a lot of energy, a lot of momentum, and just excitement around that moment. And when you nail it out the park like Adidas did with the Believe That campaign, the pressure is only that high, and it just mounts so much for a follow-up act. So Adidas is really in a coveted position, but it's still a sticky one in trying to make sure that they don't fall short of the hype that they've been able to successfully generate behind Anthony Edwards and his signature line. And for the record, they got off to a great start. And this new spot, dubbed For the Record, came out last week, and it did a great job of setting the tone of what we can expect from Adidas and Anthony Edwards as we move into this next season. Now, their last spot that kind of ended the Believe That campaign, they kind of teased closing down the peach backdrop and moving into this new space. But what we see at the beginning of this ad is they open up the door and it's a wall full of speakers, right? And that's where the Believe That chants were coming from. It really just gets to the point of shutting out the outside noise, because again, when you have so much hype, you got a lot of people blowing smoke up your, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got a lot of that. You got a lot of people cheering you on, but you also attract a lot of haters, right? And the debate that, is fun to have in marketing is who's the face of the league. And Anthony Edwards is one of the guys in contention for that spot, whether he wants to embrace it or not. And it's because of his ability, his charisma, and the way he plays. And you put all those things together, like I said before, that's what makes a signature athlete, and Anthony Edwards is that. So he can't run from this crown that everybody's trying to place on him. But in the meantime, with that crown comes a lot of the pressures and the responsibilities, which I believe he's trying to effectively duck and kind of keep everybody level-headed on terms of like his progression. And he's not wrong. Like, he's not that long in a year. He's already been to 2 Western Conference finals. We want him to win immediately and crown him that. But then that just lets you know everybody's waiting on the fall. And that's what this spot really taps into, is drowning out the outside noise. No matter how loud it may seem, it may be projected on loudspeakers, it may dominate a room, it may be from big voices in the culture like Joe Budden, it may be from sports commentators, whoever, right? You got to drown that out and really focus on yourself. And I think Adidas did a great job of painting that narrative thematically through this spot. And I love the transition of Anthony Edwards kind of dunking and drowning out the noise and returning to his safe space, which is the peach backdrop in the void that they created for part 1 of this campaign. And I think that's just a great metaphor for what they're trying to communicate, right? They know the pressure. They know who Ant is. They know the expectations on him. But what they're going to do is lock in on what they do well. And that is why that spot was so dope. And I love the way they kind of took it up a level. They got Conductor Williams scoring the beat. Last time the Believe That spots were very simplistic. A lot of the soundscape was built on organic sounds, whether it was the squeaking of the shoes, Anthony Edwards speaking himself or speaking to himself like the voices in his head. Now we get some score. So now we're building out the soundscape a little bit. It's becoming much bigger and a little bit more cinematic. And that's again, another nod to the evolution of what this campaign is. And honestly, they're doing such a great job with this, and they're handling it with care. They understand what they have, and they are putting together another solid campaign. But, as great as the marketing has been, and I believe that they're capable of, this one, the only way to avoid the sophomore slump is to deliver. Anthony Edwards has to take that leap. He needs to be certified MVP candidate going into this season. You know, he needs to have his team in contention yet again in May, June, looking to bring home a title. That'll stamp this whole movement. The shoes, they gotta, I'm not a huge fan of the peach colorway, but I believe in the shoe, and I think they get the color blocking right, put together some dope colorways, have them perform at retail. That's how you would get out of it. So they did step one. They packaged it beautifully. They're presenting it beautifully. They're telling an amazing story. But now it's on Anthony Edwards and the actual shoe and the colorways and the design team to deliver. And, you know, they had Sneaker of the Year, which was a huge feat for a basketball shoe to cross over culturally so significantly and win that award. So I believe in them. I believe, you know, so we'll see how it all comes to play. But I'm excited, man. This campaign and that work is probably the best. Not probably. It is the best work we've seen in the sports marketing space, especially for a signature athlete in the last 5 to 10 years. So I want to see them continue to do well and succeed. And there's just so many things you can kind of pull from that when you're building out your brands. And I think they just do an excellent job of storytelling and catering to the athlete's needs and where he just currently is. So Adidas, always one to watch with Anthony Edwards. Believe that. Let's see what else we got here. Now, moving over to the competitors, right? Nike and Kim Kardashian announced this partnership around SKIMS earlier this year, and it was a big deal. And now we're finally starting to see the fruits of what that collaboration can be and what it will look like. And what we get is a hero spot narrated by Kim. It includes Nike athletes like Serena Williams, Sha'Carri Richardson, Jordan Childs, and it is beautiful. Like, right? It's just the juxtaposition of Kim's minimalistic, muted tones and color palette with Nike's kind of brutalist, athletic edge just creates this nice contrast and beautiful imagery, right? And so they win in that department. Copywriting, also a major win from Nike. And what they are trying to accomplish with this pairing is a true test of their ethos that they believe if you move, you're an athlete, right? And, you know, it could be just marketing jargon or just like their way of trying to expand their market and make it huge. But in theory, they're not wrong. And over the last couple years, now we've been seeing such a rise in athleisure, and just this sort of segment is ballooning. You have brands like Lululemon and Alo just kind of dominating and taking over just by catering to this, what seemingly was a small market. And Kim was able to come into the space with SKIMS and redefine shapewear and loungewear and make it more accessible and lux it up a little bit, give you better shapes, silhouettes, and quality. And, you know, that's helped her achieve billionaire status, that line. And so Nike being for the athletes and seeing Kim, who has such a lot of cultural capital, a lot of influential sway, in one of probably the greatest lifestyle influencers of all time, right? You bring that lifestyle with the Nike athletic mantra, and you can create some products that win. And that's what they're banking on. It's a very calculated risk. I don't see too much downside, but that's the bet that they're making, that they could pull off the loyalty of Kim and her fan base and her SKIMS line and attach it to Nike's victory athlete mindset and create something even bigger, right? And this has all the seeds of a great collaboration, a great partnership, because they service the needs of the other, and they aren't just coming as two imbalanced parties. Like, they're coming at the top of their game and coming together to create something monumental. And honestly, again, these spots, oh man, they're so beautiful. I think they shot them at like the New York Public Library. They did some of the shots at the Coliseum in LA with the USC and UCLA athletes. And, you know, one thing Kim knows how to do is to present her products and herself. And this is just so well done. And again, this is where Nike shines, putting in all this marketing energy to create individual assets for the athletes, for the influencers, this huge brand halo spot around Nike and SKIMS. And it's a great splash. They had their kickoff and launch events last week. But again, I think time will tell, if people are really buying into the SKIMS and Nike as the apparel of choice for this crossover. Again, it's been happening already. You've seen, again, these other brands edge into the market and take away from Nike. So this is their big attempt to overwhelm and take it back. And I wouldn't really bet against Nike. So this is off to a great start. And it was just a great way of bringing in two worlds together with the hopes of, creating a new urgency in the landscape. So shout out to Nike and Kim on that. I mean, who would have thought when we first started seeing Keeping Up with the Kardashians that she would have a Nike collab? It's just amazing. And honestly, that is another testament to Nike's mantra that everybody's an athlete. You wouldn't see Kim and think athlete, but she's been able to build up a believable enough brand to make this whole thing work. So shout out to her. Some other marketing moments from last week that really stood out to me. Jordan and Jason Tatum are in a tricky spot, similar to, again, we talked about last week with Puma and Halliburton. Like, how do you really roll out a new sneaker when the star is out, and Tatum is looking like he's supposed to be out for the rest of the season, but I don't know, some of his YouTube clips, he's moving pretty well for somebody who's a couple months removed from a serious Achilles injury, to the point where, people are questioning, was it a full rupture or not, just because of how he's moving already. But regardless, he's going to be sidelined for, if not the whole season, the majority of the season. And unlike Puma and Halliburton, which is his first signature sneaker, Tatum's on his fourth, right? So, and he had some good momentum building last season with the Vince Staples spots, coming off a championship. There was a lot of good energy. He's not the biggest, loudest personality, so I think that pairing of him and Vince was the right call to just kind of make some interest and give it some weight. And, then he gets hurt in the playoffs and is not able to kind of have that championship push to stamp the shoe as the shoe of winners. Now you have to do the work of kind of disassociating it from the injury. And so we get these first beauty shots, and, they look like a continuation of the threes, which, again, I'm not mad at them for not kind of going with the radical, fresh design, because he's not really going to be able to showcase them on the stages that he normally does. So just something to watch out for. Tatum also has his own YouTube channel going. I think after starting 5, he's used to the full-on access, so he's going to give us some more behind-the-scenes looks. But again, I think I know I sound like I'm beating the dead horse, but that you just have to have that personality infusion into the product. And for Tatum to have been a star as long as he has been, we still don't know much about him. And, got to tap into the YouTube show, but maybe that gives us some more in-depth take on who he hangs out with, what he cares about, aside of the products that he pitches us. So that's Jordan's struggle, but it is what it is, and I think they'll figure a way to navigate it. But if Tatum gets back on the court sooner, that makes it all better, and now you can tell that recovery story through the product, and that'll be a huge moment if he's able to kind of come back that quickly. So something to look at for sure. And then to kind of wrap it up, we always talk about how sports and music are so intertwined, right? And we got another look at that, looking at some of the other leagues. MLB, which has been on the upswing in terms of bringing in the younger audience. Now, we've had the rules changes from the pitch clock, the things they do to kind of speed up the game. So that helps with, it hasn't been a great TV product as of late. So you got that. But what they're doing with their marquee moments is they're infusing a lot of cultural, hip hop moments into it. And this season we had Kendrick kick off the year with them when they had the TV off edit, which was a phenomenal spot. I'll play a little bit of it.
It's not enough. Few but it's not enough. Few that are really.
They synced up the bat hits with the beat and the song, and it was just perfect. It was perfect. At one point, they even had like the mustard of the hot dog lined up. It was just great, and it brings in the casual fan for opening day, right? Then we talked about it a little bit a couple weeks ago. Fear of God now teaming up with MLB. They did the All-Star collaboration down here in Atlanta for All-Star, and now they have a custom collab rolling out as well. And then for the postseason now, they've tapped Pharrell. And I mean, he's just in a bag right now. You know, ever since he did Happy, he moved into this like angelic space of just like big, feel good music. It can get a little corny at times, but this is just like flawless. Like, take a listen to just a little bit of this ad.
Now are you ready?
This is the postseason.
You feel me? Like, that is hard. That's hard. So for MLB, which has been very rigid and strict and old school, to kind of be dabbling in this way, it's jarring to see, right? And that's what kind of wakes up the energy and brings that attention in. So shout out to the MLB for taking some bold risk and some new moves to kind of break out of the norm and start to tap back in with what's going on out there in these streets. And, you know, speaking of Kendrick Lamar earlier, last year he did the Super Bowl, so there was a lot of eyes on who would be the follow-up act for the Super Bowl. There was rumors of Jay-Z even coming in. Adele was the one that kind of picked up steam lately, and Taylor Swift is always on the docket. I'm like really surprised she won't do it, but regardless, this year we're gonna get Bad Bunny, and you know, not enough praise has been given to Roc Nation for how beautiful they've been able to roll out these announcements, from the imagery and just the setup. And you know, it's something that everybody wants to know about. It's the biggest show in music, honestly. So shout out to them for holding it down and continually fighting to give us good shows. And I think we're in for a very interesting one. You know, Bad Bunny is coming off of a massive run in Puerto Rico, where he decided to hold a residency in his hometown and just like boost that economy, provide so much value. And, you know, contrary to what people want to believe, Puerto Rico is a part of the United States. So how American is this going to be? So I'm excited to see how it comes together. I'm not like the hugest Bad Bunny fan, but I know he puts on a good show and he makes good music. So I'm excited to see how that all comes together. And again, that Super Bowl stage is one that should be respected. And you got to get artists who have that level of creativity, have that level of intention, and that level of care to put on the best show possible. And that's all we can ask for, right? So I'm looking forward to that. Shout out again to Roc Nation, NFL, Apple Music on the Super Bowl. They got another great one on their hands. So that's all we got for today. You see a lot of brands taking risks, whether they're trying to avoid a sophomore slump like Adidas, whether Nike is betting big on expansion through Kim Kardashian and SKIMS, or the MLB looking to shake things up by bringing in new, fresh collaborators to add new voices and whatnot. So it's an exciting time. I know I keep saying that, but I'm just genuinely excited. And I'm excited for you guys to not only experience this in the marketplace, but to come here and get the insights to help you build your brand. So if you made it this far, hit me with a W in the chat. Give me a like, give me a follow, subscribe, and share it with somebody you think might like this. I appreciate making these content for you guys. So if you can get it up to 1,000 and continue having these conversations, all the more better. I appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.